Hello there everybody, Hammer, and welcome back to Tokyo Babel. Now in the last episode we had ourselves a bit of an information dump. Actually, the last two videos lately have been nothing but an information dump, and I'm still cleaning up the brain matter that's on my carpet. Adam accomplished what no one could in the past few years, whether this was due to Adam's own worth or that of Tendou Setsuna, who went before him, proved a difficult question to answer. Nonetheless, angels and demons alike received the good news with much celebration. Lilith nodded, her expression turning grave. On the other hand, they had something more important to worry about right now. Lilith forced herself not to say that out loud, though. The vast majority of angels and demons believed that by opening the gates of heaven, all their problems would be solved, that once they could hear the word of the released God, everything would be alright. Yet Abdiel's final words still weighed heavy upon Lilith's mind. He claimed Astaroth was plotting something. How could anyone plot at an apocalyptic time like this, when every living soul, with no other options to cling to, should instead make an effort to join hands in cooperation? Oddly specific question. Nonsense. If the gates remained closed, they would all end up wandering endlessly aboard Tokyo Babel. It wouldn't last forever, actually. There was a finite number of angels, demons, and able humans residing at Pandora. Fathering children here would be impossible. Sormi nodded enthusiastically at Lilith's explanation. Would they truly harbor ambitions so base? Lilith couldn't outright deny it. Sormi flashed a devilish grin. There was an ominously terrifying ring to those words. For a brief moment, Lilith found herself scared of the girl who would think up something like that. I don't know, probably build Monokuma. Sormi went on, boldly proclaiming her answer. Lilith came to an unpleasant realization. The lives of angels and demons were equal. Death wouldn't mean the end of all things, but simply yet another resurrection. Wait, that was only how things used to be. This was precisely why Lilith and all the rest viewed their present situation with fear and anxiety. Life here was no longer eternal. Once they died, that would be the end of it. Death here at Tokyo Babel truly meant destruction of all life. They could return to neither heaven nor hell, and although wounds could be healed, a life once lost could never be brought back. When viewed from another angle, the situation was the only time where anyone could permanently destroy an angel or a demon. Suppose that Astaroth succumbed to despair, or that Camiel found himself obsessed with death, or someone entirely different, anyone who desired complete destruction. A nervous giggle left Sormi's lips. Lilith, meanwhile, found herself overcome by a mixture of genuine relief. as well as the determination to find out whoever they could truly trust around here. And now we're back here again. Joining hands with Raziel, I walked down the pathway leading to the 6th stratum. The waves of mental contamination had yet to cease, and while they no longer echoed as powerfully as before, their aggravating murmur still lingered in my ears. I would not lose to this. Clenching my teeth, I stared straight into the eyes of the hopeless, desolate reality unfolding before me. This was reality. The hand I still held was no lie. The sensation of her skin against mine filled me with the strength to face the terrors that would await us. Like a link between souls. I did not know if Raziel felt the same way, but in my eyes, she was certainly the only thing that kept me going. Raziel uttered the word like someone talking in their sleep.
もうすぐだ、ラジエル。もうすぐ君の本が手に入る。記憶は戻ると思うかい？
The angel timidly shook her head.
わからない。私は一体あの本に何を書いたのか。他愛もないことか。それとも身の毛もよだつほどに恐ろしいことか。
Really, the worst it could possibly be is that you're the cause of all this, and that's why you erased your memories. But I honestly doubt that's what it is. The Sefer Raziel, one of the most important tomes in existence. In Raziel's own Raison, it was finally within our reach. I poured more strength into my grip, to the point where I feared I could hurt her. Solitude filled one with terror, but with just the two of us we could prevail. Was that all it came down to? Sorry. Raziel's words came as a soft whisper.
ごめん。
痛いけど安心する。だからそのままにして。
Just as I was about to loosen my grip, Raziel ordered me not to. She looked into my eyes, her smile warm and reassuring, her gaze replete with genuine trust. I wished from the bottom of my heart to keep her safe. Yet I couldn't find it in myself to put those feelings into words. It was a vague attempt at self-control, accompanied only by a peculiar surge of emotions in my chest. I must have been embarrassed. I pushed the gates open, wrestling with that one thought. More fire. Was Uriel here? The book town of Khanda. A place with an outstanding selection of volumes from all genres and eras. A town of books and paper. And it looks like the villagers decided to have a little bit of a book burning. A district that was once home to a myriad emotions, countless histories, and a wealth of information had now fallen victim to the divine flames of God. Yep. Raziel uttered the name with palpable melancholy, determining Uriel as the culprit in mere seconds. The answer was all too evident. He had succumbed to madness, ascended to the 6th stratum, and allowed his tidal wave of fire to consume it all. The stench of burnt paper and scorched books lingered in the air. Memories, information, knowledge, all lost to the ferocious flames like a microcosm of mankind's fall. Raziel surveyed the nearby area, searching for her book, while I kept close behind, never once letting go of her hand. Uriel was nowhere to be seen. He either remained at the 3rd stratum or took off to another place, wherever that might be. Perhaps he was on his way back here. Whatever the case might have been, I wished to find Raziel's book as soon as possible.
ラジエル、本はどこにあるかわかるか？燃えてはいないだろうが。
神の炎といえども、あの本を消失させることは絶対にできない。
そうか。よし、下がっ。
Being on the 3rd stratum had warmed up my body, which could have been the reason why the heat here did not end up bothering me.
一緒に探そう。
Splitting up could have made our search more efficient, but none of us even considered doing so. I simply did not wish to be separated from her in the midst of this hellish chaos. We kept to the middle of the road as the low rumble of the burning city filled the air around us, a complete extinction of all that once was. Just like on the 3rd stratum, merely inhaling the hot air could scald one's throat. The flames never let up, its victims never reaching the state of carbonization. As long as Uriel still drew breath, they would continue to burn. Only one word could describe the horrors before us. Hell. After a short while spent walking, we finally arrived at the outskirts of the book town. We spotted an ordinary building, at least in terms of outward appearance. Under our circumstances, though, the ordinary itself was the anomaly. For instance, why was this building not on fire? Even stranger than that was the fact how it towered above us right in the middle of the road. Raziel cast a long look at the building, letting out a sigh after trying the entrance.
このビルに
Raziel shook her head. My instincts were seemingly of no use here.
このビルに本があるんじゃなくて
She went on, her surprise unmistakable in her tone.
このビルが本になっている
What? Raziel's hands emitted a sharp light, blinding my vision. At the same time, I felt the release of a tremendous amount of magical energy. The building turned to data, while the data itself transformed to paper. I finally understood what Raziel had meant. There were pages, countless numbers of them, all inscribed with myriads of letters, making up the outer walls, interior, and stairwells of the building.
これが私の本セファーラジエル
I don't think you can carry that in your pocket. Still finding myself dumbfounded by this revelation, I uttered the first thing that came to my mind.
持ち帰るのは大変そうだ
It might not be impossible, though.
誰か私の本を読んだみたい圧縮していた情報が無造作に広がってるから
The Sefer Raziel recorded all knowledge since the dawn of creation. For that purpose, a unique kind of compression method needed to be put in place to encrypt and seal away the information contained within. However, someone appeared to have broken that seal and attempted to read the book. According to Raziel's own theory, once this compression was unraveled, the book must have automatically taken on the form of this building.
圧縮作業に30分ほどかかる少し待ってて
After a moment of hesitation, Raziel let go of my hand. I felt the pain and loneliness of having been cut off from the rest of the world. Quite a severe wound, if I did say so myself. I had no choice but to wait for Raziel to finish. Other than the ceaselessly raging flames, the vicinity was calm and quiet. Unlike in the case of the third stratum, the only things burning here were books. If I remained vigilant of the mental contamination, things would turn out just fine. I made myself believe that. My head had been throbbing with pain for a while now, yet I convinced myself it was all just my imagination. I quarantined all the syrupy, sweet whispers that beset my mind in overwhelming quantities in the blank space I had previously created. Reason, intellect, logic, morals, thoughts, fury, determination, composure. Their whispers assailed all the emotions I needed for combat. Theirs was an alluring surge of overwhelming joy. I cast it all aside, erasing it, weeding it out by the roots. I needed none of its joy, for it was the rapture of beasts, the exhilaration of the savage. Yet my mind would still be under constant invasion. How much longer could I withstand its sweet melody? My confidence grew ever weaker with each passing second. In that moment, I felt a sudden jolt, an abrupt splash of frigid water against my mind.
知らない何も知らない何も知ろうとしない
His voice was the cause. I sensed a peculiar whisper trickle into my ears.
知らないから教わろうともしない知識欲を捨てて無知で無垢であろうとする
His was unlike the whisper of the mental contamination I had been weathering up till now.
それでいいそうでなくては絶望に耐えきれない生まれついての奴隷が奴隷であることに耐えられないことがないように絶望の真実を知らなければいい知ってしまえば壊れるしかない知らぬふりをしても事実は刻みつけられてしまうお前は我が名はないかつてはウリエルと呼ばれた大天使だったがそれ
どこにいる
Uriel's tone remained calm and collected.
ここだ私はここにいる私はウリエルがセファーラジエルを読んで廃棄したもの理性だ
Huh. Interesting.
理性
良心と言ってもいい本来捨てた瞬間に喪失するものだが あの私は理性とともに人格や感情、記憶も捨ててしまった。
So you're the real Uriel.
だから疑似的な魂を構成できた。私にはわずかながらウリエルとしての記憶があり、精神があり、人格があり。
姿を見せられないのか。
ないさ、魂だけだからね。それからもう君にしか声を届けることができない。
僕に何を伝えたい？
簡単だ。私を殺せ。
Really? There was not a hint of concern in Uriel's voice.
分かっている。分かっているとも。でも殺せなかったんだ。
それはそうだ。お前はまだこの世界に存在する理由を完全に見出していないからだ。だから迷い、悩む。
My raison d'être. It had been on my mind ever since I first arrived at Tokyo
で
Babel.
もあの時僕は不可能を可能にした。あれは違うのだろうか。
違わない。だが完全な言葉にしていない。完全な言葉による完全な理由構築が必要だ。
I knew that. Yet still I couldn't find the words.
君がレゾンデートルを見つけなければラジエルが死ぬ。
Met by Uriel's endlessly nonchalant tone, I forgot myself for a moment.
なぜだ。
これより先、お前はラジエルの真実を直視しなければならない。
だからなぜだ。
Seemingly hesitant to answer, Uriel's so-called conscience fell into silence. A few seconds passed and he went on, his tone rife with fear as he cried out.
私には言えない。ダメなんだ。私はそれを知ったからこそ、ここに記憶と理性を打ち捨てた。だから思い出したくない。
What in the world could have made him so desperate, so full of fear?
ラジエルは本を読むだろう。暗号を解き、真実を理解するだろう。
待て、まだ話が。
死にたくない。消えたくない。滅びたくはない。だが、もう終わりだ。私はもう終わった。そして、私が来る。
And just like that, the whisper that had filled my ears died down as the tyrant in question made his entrance from above, his visage in sharp contrast to a sky turned crimson from fire. His smile was that of a lunatic, features contorted and twisted mad in joy. His terrible cry echoed far and wide in a tone bereft of hatred.
ラジエル殺しに来てあげたよ
And with the Picati sword. Over my dead body. I kicked myself off the ground without a shred of hesitation, leaping towards Uriel as Raziel caught her breath behind me.
邪魔だ
Uriel brandished the Picati sword. He had no doubt acquired it following our previous battle.
邪魔だ。
I met his steel with the blade Raziel lent me, or rather attempted to do so. My blade shattered to pieces in an instant, followed up by several roundhouse kicks to the side of my head. The attack sent me crashing through the walls of a burning building as the flames scorched my skin. I immediately clad my entire body in water magic, although Uriel's flames evaporated it in a split second. I kept conjuring up more and more, successfully canceling out the hot air around me. The resulting clouds of steam, on the other hand, obstructed my vision. As I attempted to hastily rise to my feet, I heard Raziel yell. I ran as fast as I could, leaping into the air. In the end, it took me less than 2 seconds to make it to Raziel's side.
バカだなラジエル。天動刹那なんかに気を取られるからだよ。
うっさい。
At first, I foolishly thought that something protruding from her belly that shouldn't have been there. In reality, it was the sword of the 7 deadly sins having just been thrust through Raziel's body. Uriel took genuine pleasure in twisting the handle, like one would a doorknob as he buried the blade in the angel. Following a brief stifled moan, Raziel collapsed onto the ground. Fury welled up in my heart with the intensity of a raging volcano. My thoughts were a blur. I was unable to tell what I had done, whether I kicked or punched Uriel. I knew but one thing, that I had to get him away from Raziel as soon as humanly possible. Tajikawa, Hinakagutsuchi, Takamikazuchi. I tapped into all 3 powers in succession to launch an attack. Uriel's momentary confusion created enough of an opening, yet there was only so much I could do barehanded. Uriel responded with a strike from the back of his hand, sending me quite a distance away from Raziel. However, I retained my composure, sending my voice to Raziel via telepathy.
問題ないと思う。ただ戦闘行動には支障が出る。でもすぐに追いつくから。
安心しろ。彼は僕が倒す。
無理だよ。
その無理を通さなきゃダメなんだ。ラジオ、君は手を出さないでくれ。
I needed to face this on my own. As I cut my telepathic link with Raziel, I once again stared into the eyes of Uriel, the flame of God.
邪魔をするな天道切だ
I responded to Uriel's howl in a tone cool as a winter night.
する。ラジオには何があっても手を出させない。
Uttering the words felt oddly refreshing. I had but a simple, straightforward goal, and this battle was one worth risking my life in. Uriel's face contorted in pain.
ラジエルは死ななきゃならないんだ。真実を知らないまま死ななきゃならないんだ。どうしてそれがわからないんだ。
わかるもんか、そんなこと。
Uriel had cast aside his rationality and became a master. The manifestation of that very same rationality said something similar, that Raziel sheltered a certain secret, a cruel, terrifying secret. Yet Raziel herself was ready to face it. No matter how cool the truth could prove to be, they were nonetheless all part of her treasured memories. At the very least, her life was most definitely not in Uriel's hands, even if he was the manifestation of God's divine flame and one of the 4 master angels.
だからラジエルを殺す。
だからラジエルを守る。
Our objectives were polar opposites. Clashing in battle would be the only way to settle this. I had no weapons to wield, though even if I did, I would not rely on them. Similarly, the arcane arts were at my disposal, yet a fledgling magic user like me could never hope to match the prowess of the so-called Flame of God. Be it physical strength, stamina, speed, cunning, or willpower, an angel like him far surpassed me. My situation felt beyond hopeless, with only terror and despair to await me. And yet, as I considered my options in vain, Uriel mounted an attack.
来い、宝石よ。
The beast came lunging at me through the power of the Bacati sword, crudely baring its fangs like it always did.
なめるな。
I leapt straight into the abomination's colossal jaw, piercing through its neck to exit through the back of its head before it could crush me with its row of massive teeth. Uriel was right in front of me. Howling at the top of my lungs, I let my fist crash clean into the angel's face. Although my strike did make him recoil ever so slightly, Uriel smiled. Things were apparently going his way.
怠惰の黄金。
A moment later, I saw my arm enveloped by a mass of molten gold. Summoned with the kind of inhuman swiftness that left little to no room or time for any sort of counterplan. And while the amount he summoned was by no means enough to cover my whole body, the speed of Uriel's incantation was most certainly terrifying. So this was the way to utilize this particular beast. As the sharp hiss of sizzling gold echoed in the vicinity, I felt myself assailed by pain of unbelievable intensity. My immediate reaction was to reach out with my right hand and tear off my left arm by the elbow. The shock I experienced upon losing an arm remained minuscule at best. Good lord, and I thought friggin' Ava Beatrice's laugh was weird. Uriel howled with laughter, sounding like a friggin' broken down truck. His expression was the very epitome of complete madness, devoid of even the faintest trace of rationality. What next? The question was painfully simple, yet finding an answer to it would prove a difficult task. My situation here was in no way comparable to what I had gone through with Abdiel or Gethel. A raging blizzard to freeze everything solid? Or a thunderstorm to blow away the flames and everything else along with them? Or perhaps an earthquake that would swallow the entire district whole? I soon abandoned all three options, realizing they would likely end in failure. If one were to measure the amount of magic each of us commanded, the answer would be clear as day. If my magical capacity was 100, Euros approached 80,000. No, 880,000. 880,000.
天罰弁慶セントエルモス
A sharp pain shot through my body as the whip of fire summoned by Uriel bit into my flesh. With my eyes wide open and mind completely paralyzed by pain, I forgot to even breathe for a moment.
この無知を100回耐え切った人間は存在しないさあ刹那お前は一体いくつで音を上げる
No ordinary man could endure this level of crippling, otherworldly pain.
そこを引いてくれないかな天道刹那
Uriel's words rang in a tone soft and soothing, yet unmistakably belonging to a madman. In the far distance, I could see Raziel lying on the ground.
してから行けと言ったはずだああそうだった殺さなきゃ引いてくれないんだっけごめんね最近忘れっぽくていやもう本当に
Another lash from the flaming whip tore into my chest.
ごめんね本当に悪いと思ってるよ
The whip continued its terrible work without a moment's rest, ravaging my entire body. My chest, shoulders, abdomen, legs, neck, and face all felt the scorching pain as the attacks rained down on me without mercy. I would not be granted even the small mercy of blacking out. The pain in its inhuman intensity would jolt my consciousness awake. I had heard of the unimaginable heights of pain a whipping could inflict on a person. That was especially true in the case of the punishment meted out by a master angel.
罰だこれは罰だ罪人への罰だ罰
As Uriel continued his work in a lunatic frenzy, his expression contorted to a complex blend of fear and ecstasy. However, he seemed entirely too preoccupied with punishing me to the point of losing himself in a trance of sorts. Even in the hands of a mortal, his whip was said to be swift enough to transcend the speed of sound. As it came crashing down on my body, I successfully read its movements and grabbed the end of it with my left hand.
離せや
Uriel howled like a spoiled child. The fiery whip scorched my skin as the stench of burning flesh filled my nostrils. Mustering all my strength, I pulled the whip my way, then charged the now unbalanced Uriel. Using the same momentum, I smashed my head clean into his face. The impact was powerful enough to make me see stars for a few seconds. With my left hand clutching the whip and my right torn clean off, the only weapons left to me were my legs and head. I stretched out my neck and struck again.
もう造品ごときや
The whip coiled about my arm, ready to tear it off.
お前のことは知っている人間でありながら人間を超えようとしたトガ人よ
Uriel's whip rapidly grew in length, smashing me into the asphalt road and the nearby buildings over and over again. As my consciousness drifted farther away, the pain would drag me back into reality, tormenting me with its relentless assault. The fact my left arm was still in place was like a miracle in itself. Possibly realizing that I no longer resisted, Uriel banished his whip and took to the skies. His wings, clad in azure of fire, glimmered in vivid hues, birthing a scene straight out of a delirious daydream.
さて皆様お立ち会いこれより神罰を執行いたします残酷に苛烈に死んでいただきます天皇刹那ヤルダ・バオトよこの世界から魂の一辺に至るまで散りとかせ
I could not defeat him. The realization came swift and sure. I looked upon the skies and saw it blotted out by the shape of Uriel, the maddened angel. All I could do was writhe in agony. Robbed of all weapons and an arm, my mind teetered on the brink of collapse, my strength all but spent. Uriel was unbelievably powerful. That simple fact had finally begun to sink in.
七罪の獣よ
The beast of gluttony, the molten gold of sloth, the azure flames of wrath, the decayed chains of envy, the silver lion of pride, the mirror knight of lust, and finally that chimera of greed.
お前を殺して ラジエルを殺して、それから全てを燃やす。ただ燃やしているセファーラジエルもパンドラも全て。
All 7 beasts embodying the 7 deadly sins came lunging at me at the same time, displaying power far surpassing what Gethel or I could reach or call forth. Uriel's magical capacity was simply that vast and expansive. His next attack would end my life, no question about it. The pain gradually subsided as a sudden feeling of drowsiness washed over me. My senses slowly but surely ceased to function, my heart and soul yielding to that ceaseless chorus. I felt myself in the jaws of death, both mentally and physically. I would die. Perish, cease to be. At the same time, however, death would bring release from suffering. That obvious truth lingered in my mind. It had worn me down. The battles, the struggle to protect others, life itself had worn me down. Why not shed that burden? Time and again I felt myself ready to yield to that temptation. This time I would certainly make that step. But what exactly made me weather that storm? Why did I continue to cling so desperately to life? I was a sinner. The contempt of billions soaked deep into my very soul. So why would I need to keep living?
そうだ。
The realization came as a bolt of blinding light. So that was the reason. I was a sinner, a wretched criminal who should have been denied life. Yet still I lived. My veins pumped blood, my lungs drank air, aching for oxygen. I wielded steel, my howl echoed in the skies as I fought to destroy my foes. This was not yet the end. Far from it. As the 7 beasts of each deadly sin closed in on me, I took to introspection, leveling a myriad questions at myself. Who was I? Tendao Setsuna, a mortal man. And before that, someone who aspired to be God. Can I emerge victorious here? I needed to. See through to his core. Uriel once howled the following words.
我がレゾンデートルは我が名そのもの、すなわち神の炎なり。
The fires of God, born from a volcano said to be located at Tartarus. His duty was to judge its sinners, to mete out punishment with unfaltering composure and cruelty. To him, that duty meant the world, its composure, its cruelty, his divine fury. Unbridled rage, burning brighter than a firestorm. He would toy with and scorn all men indiscriminately. The core of his very essence remained unchanged. Which is precisely why he could so overwhelmingly surpass me in sheer prowess. The gravity of my sins only served to fuel his strength. In my foolishness, I caused the deaths of 10 billion people. Uriel had no doubt come to judge a far greater number of souls during his existence. In his eyes, I was a sinner, clear and simple. I would not prevail, no matter how fiercely I struggled. Uriel's raison d'etre was that strong, that clearly articulated. Could I display a raison d'etre to surpass his? My fate had been set in stone since birth, and even after that I had simply been like a reed in the wind. When I fought to protect others, I did so because I had been ordered to. That was how I viewed it. I knew that now, all too well. I needed to calmly recall the first time Uriel and I met in battle. When my very life was on the line, the pulse of my heart echoed in my chest, its very beat proof that I was alive. Its rhythm signifying my will to live. Live, survive, prevail, protect, endure, struggle, think, hear, touch, and smell. Life, in its unmatched complexity, required a myriad of actions to be maintained. And so I, and countless other people, would nurture a wish in our hearts, a desire to see someone capable of overthrowing all adversity, someone to face the jaws of despair and emerge victorious, someone to turn the cruel tides of fate. Despite knowing no such being exists and realizing we yearned for the impossible, still we desire to see that wish fulfilled. At times it manifested itself through the might of God. Unfortunately, no such creator existed here. Even if it did, God would be an enemy to us. After all, here I was, taking up arms against one of the Lord's angels. There is no God, no Messiah to save us. The words rang almost as if spoken by someone from my homeworld. 10 billion rejected the existence of God, yet found themselves yearning for his salvation. They wished for someone to save them, someone to help them. Like a valiant hero, a protector of all that is right and just, a conveniently omnipotent God. Indeed, I was created for that purpose, to save 10 billion lives edging towards the precipice of despair. My raison d'etre, had it been simply to act as ordered, to carry out what was desired of me? Was that my reason for being? No. I committed a sin. I felt guilt welling up in my chest. I believed I had no right to live. And yet I met an angel who willingly took my hand. An angel who, despite her occasional coldness, nurtured a loving heart. An angel who felt at peace as she held my hand. It was all for her sake. If I perished here, Uriel would swiftly kill Raziel just the same. To prevent that cruel fate, I needed to survive, no matter what. Survive and prevail. What exactly did I require in order to accomplish that? To prevail, to emerge victorious, to reign as the sole victor. Visualize what you need for victory. Draw up a conclusion. Bring it forth from the depth of your mind in less than a second. What I needed, what I truly needed, was to first rise on my own 2 feet. Grasping the asphalt with my left hand, I pulled myself erect once more. After picking out Gluttony, the largest of the 7 beasts, I grabbed the abomination by the nose and sent it flying. The other 6 ended up being mowed down by Gluttony's colossal body. I had finally managed to gain a momentary advantage. I would not let it slip through my fingers. I picked up the right arm I had lost, clumsily, yet with great force, reattaching it, without even bothering to sedate myself. I would endure all my pain. Once my arm had been fully rejuvenated, I held it before my eyes. Tendao Setsuna, proclaim your reason for being. Let the world tremble at the echo of your raison d'être. I first needed to utter the words. My raison d'être would clash with the world, invading it, permeating it, each syllable like a poem chanted, and in the end I would summon the exact being I needed. Next I needed to make my proclamation, mustering the willpower to declare my mind liberated and detached from gods of dominion. I felt the whole of my body brimming with magic, forces once elusive now flowing freely at my command. My magical capacity was a mere 100. Uriel's a vast 80,000. He brandished his steel, but it was far too late. I shall create God, to give birth to something powerful enough to turn the tide in the face of overwhelming odds. Holy shit! With all the magic I could muster at my disposal, I opened the gates, and in that moment the world itself came to a halt. Even the man Uriel found himself at a loss for words when faced with the proclamation that no sane man would dare utter in the presence of the flame of God. The angel clenched his teeth in rage, instinct ordering him to meet my words with righteous fury. Know your place, mortal, or else I'll put you out of your misery. I could not tell for certain if Uriel meant to utter such threats, nor did I care for that matter. All beheld the descent of the ultimate machine, a kingdom of amalgamated metal and steel. A soaring bastion of an island, its terrible shape blotting out the heavens above, a myriad pieces of scrap metal forming its ramparts, wheels, walls, and cogwheels. Its realm gave home to no living beings. Only I stood in the middle, a messenger to that colossal leviathan of steel. For I stood here to proclaim my own desires, my own ambitions. Its engines roared to life, their booming roar celebrating the advent of the Machine Kingdom. The construction of the ultimate machine had come to its end. The birth of a weapon needed to crush Uriel, now complete and finished. A divine instrument, an arcane vessel, a sacred treasure. Or something even more supreme, something that transcended our meager imagination.
我らは汝の罪を弾劾する。
The word sinner made Uriel recoil. To have himself, an angel bereft of sin, be condemned as such was unimaginable. Hearing the words come from the lips of a mere mortal must have only added insult to injury, yet I went on regardless.
汝の罪狂ったことである。汝の罪壊れたことである。壊れ死の存在として脆弱であった汝を弾劾する。
The kingdom of metal responded to my words. Condemn him. Let the trial begin like in days of old, when witches and werewolves alike burned at the stake. Here the death throes of the supernatural, the complete rejection of the arcane. The kingdom's blacksmiths all set to work, creating weapons and armor.
審判と懲罰のガベル。
I may have called it a gavel, yet in reality the handle itself was 10 meters long, its tip boasting an otherworldly shape akin to a colossus' foot. One terrible swing sent the 7 beasts back to the void they emerged from. Power befitting a sacred treasure, a divine instrument, and something unique, freshly created. A weapon bird for the sole purpose of defeating Uriel.
ウリエル、僕は君を気の毒に思う。哀れに思う。君の行為は仕方がないとすら思う。
ふざけ。
それだからこそ君は今ここで滅ぶ。罪を背負うべき。
Uriel once again summoned his tremendous door bolt forged of steel.
シオウルタルタロス。
Uriel lunged forward, his body clad in divine fire. Our battle had begun anew. Uriel and I spiraled downwards, piercing through the clouds during our descent.
人間ごときが僕を裁くなどとふざけるな。
Okay, I've never heard that word. My steel met his weapon with a thunderous roar of an impact, birthing a multitude of sparks dancing in the vivid crimson of a meteor shower.
裁くとも。お前が天使である限り、彼女を傷つける限りはな。
I screamed back at him, allowing myself to believe I could overturn the impossible, no matter what shape it might take. No, I was not merely convincing myself. My Raison dare did make that very thing possible, elevating me to the monstrous heights in order to trample over even the most overwhelming of odds. I would become the monster they call omnipotence. Uriel's bolt clashed with the colossal gavel in a violent impact. This battle was no longer a competition of raw strength. Instead, it evolved into something akin to a sword duel. My war cry filled me with confidence, further amplifying the speed of every action I took. We exchanged blows again and again in the air, biting into each other in an awesome display of inhuman prowess and skill. Building after building fell victim to the violent shockwaves of our ongoing struggle. Uriel's bolt and my hammer stirred a series of gales ferocious enough to devastate the cityscape, and any ordinary human caught in the blast would have perished in a heartbeat. I swung the gavel in a wide arc, like a golfer would his stick, propelling a mixture of rubble and dust into the air. Uriel had lost sight of me. Uriel looked in both directions, then naturally lowered his gaze to the glance below. After all, that is where I had been moments before. However, I approached Uriel from above, hiding behind a veil of dust and debris. Using this to my advantage, I lunged at him from an elevated position. Just as Uriel was about to prepare a counterattack after spotting me, my colossal gavel smashed into his head. The impact sent the angel, once dominating the skies like a bright star, spiraling downwards in a blaze of fire, almost like a meteor. Uriel climbed out from beneath a heap of rubble, looking back up at me with an expression twisted by unbridled rage. I remained in the sky while he stood on the ground. That situation in itself made the angel positively livid. In terms of sheer skill, Uriel did indeed surpass Tendao Setsuna, overwhelmingly so. However, that advantage did not last long. Uriel too had finally realized it. The angel leapt back into the skies. We each swung of our respective weapons. Bolt and gavel met in the middle. Their clash booming like thunder, sending violent shockwaves in the air. We both staked our very souls in this battle, neither of us willing to yield as we continued to exchange blow after blow. Uriel was an angel. I was a mortal man. He was eternal and unaging, robbed of the very concept of growth. I was neither immortal nor unaging. If anything, my lifespan was far shorter than any ordinary man's. Which is why, to me, the concept of growth was a power terrifying enough to move the world. A single strike. Uriel's eyes shot open in surprise. The angel could barely believe what he was witnessing. I was growing, adapting before his eyes. With each attack I received, each counterattack I launched, and with every single occasion where I escaped death by a hair's breadth, I continued to grow. I began to understand Uriel's strategy and combat techniques. However, my body could not withstand the burden of it. The moment that thought crossed my mind, I felt the density of muscles grow. My raison d'être was to overthrow the impossible, to turn the tide against overwhelming odds, and if I happened to lack the power to do that, I would be granted said power, even by force. My already brief lifespan would be eroded even further in the process, yet my mind focused not on the distant tomorrow, but the here and now. I sent my hammer in a horizontal arc, utilizing momentum to swing it in a full circle and finally crash into Uriel's liver. Uriel's frenzy grew ever fiercer with every passing second. The sight unfolding before him was out of this world. He could hardly believe his eyes. At first, he could easily overpower me, but gradually I managed to fight him on equal footing, and now I was beginning to turn the tables. I lacked the angel's volcanic fury. All I had was a will cold as steel, intent on crushing this obstacle. The polar opposite of love. After successfully figuring out what Uriel did not wish to befall him, I acted without hesitation to carry out that very thing. I swung my tremendous hammer, aiming for his jaw and the wings that once were the pride of the angels. I missed his wings, but his jaw was slightly slower. My weapon grazed it. His gaze grew hollow for a moment, his body slightly wavering. I would crush him without missing my mark. As the massive door bolt in his grip split to numerous fragments in a second, I lost sight of Uriel. I could no longer predict where he would lunge from. Before I could react, Uriel appeared behind me. Using his fiery wings like a jet thruster, Uriel moved in a straight horizontal line to rapidly make his way behind me. He moved faster than I could turn around to face him, my mind struggling to register what just happened. Uriel sent me flying with a ferocious kick with each fragment of his door bolt hot on my heels like a swarm of missiles. I could neither dodge nor survive their attack by amplifying my defenses. One moment of hesitation would spell my doom. In other words, I needed to launch an attack of my own. I analyzed the missile's trajectory and calculated their speed. I made a myriad calculations regarding distance, the time and direction of impact, and numerous other factors. I drew up a conclusion, determining whether or not this was the correct course of action. I acted with impeccable timing, and knocked back a fragment. The fragment I knocked back diverged from its course, hitting another one and causing a chain reaction. If my calculations proved correct, I did not even need to move. If I did, I would only be putting myself in unnecessary danger. The fragments, like a collage of volcanic projectiles, soared past me in the blink of an eye. I turned to face Uriel. The angel watched in silent astonishment as his projectile plummeted to the ground below. How did you do that? I held up my gavel, ignoring his question. I would be aiming for his right hand. Constantly clad in flames, this part of Uriel's body was a vulnerability surpassing even his heart. In order to defeat Uriel, I called upon the name of another world's god, each word brimming with sorcery that further amplified the speed of my swings. Go on, Tendao Setsuna. Let the world quake in terror at the coming of your steel. The hammer struck, blasting Uriel's right arm clean off. Uriel's wings flapped powerlessly, finally buckling under the pressure, sending the angel plummeting downward. Wasting no time, I chased after him in pursuit. Uriel crashed into a rooftop water tank, drenching his whole body. The angel found himself robbed of a body part more vital than his heart, his right arm. Uriel's tone reflected not a shred of despair. Instead, he spoke up in a meek tone, his expression that of confusion. I stepped up to the angel, supplying him with the answer.
そうだ。動けないなら、君の敗北だろう。
動けないな。だから僕の敗北なのか。
It took a few moments before the realization to finally sink in. When it did, Uriel responded with a faint smile. I went on in a solemn tone.
解放の時だ。ウリエル。君の灯した火は消えるだろう。君の振る舞いは神に届かないだろう。
For a short while, Uriel stared blankly at his missing right arm before finally speaking up in a melancholic tone.
そうか。僕はとっくの前に死んでいたのか。
そうかもしれない。
Uriel leveled his gaze with mine, the fire of contempt burning unmistakably in his eyes.
なぜラジエルを守ろうとする？
それは。
Not out of duty, and certainly not because I had been ordered to. I merely wished from the bottom of my heart to protect her, to keep her safe. The angel who, in order to help mankind, once handed them a book she valued more than her own life. Yet I couldn't quite put that into words. Uriel chuckled to himself.
僕だって彼女が嫌いじゃないさ。でも彼女には罪がある。それに伴う罰がある。
罪。
僕がこうなったのは半分はコーラスのせいで、もう半分はあの本のせいだ。
セファー・ラジエル。
Uriel let out another chuckle, his expression, quite fittingly, that of a young boy fond of pranks.
だけど中身が何なのかは教えてやらない。
The angel's body began to wither away. In his current state, he was like a mortal with his heart stabbed. Indescribable despair and anguish his only companions.
天道刹那。僕は君を憎悪しているが、感謝もしているんだ。
感謝。どうして？
僕は永劫の消滅によってあらゆる業から解放された。恐怖はあるよ。今も僕の胸を締め付けるくらいの恐怖は刻まれている。それでも解放されたのは確かなんだ。だから感謝している。
ウリエル。天国で何が起こった？
He sluggishly shook his head, his prior smile returning.
だからさ、その一方で僕は僕を殺した君を憎んでいるんだよ。だから教えてやらない。
Yeah, I should have expected as much.
意地悪い。
そうさ、なんたって僕は罪人を裁いて罰する天使だったからね。これは君への罰だよ。
Incredibly fitting.
そうか。まあ、仕方ないか。
そうそう、仕方ない仕方ない。
The angel smiled with a child's innocence, his body withering rapidly, soon to be nothing but dust and ash. His soul, too, will cease to be for good. Uriel began muttering to himself.
そっかそっか。そうだったのか。これが人間にとっての死という概念なのか。うん。怖いな。とても怖い。いや、でも興味深くもあるな。消えるという概念が僕にはまだいまいちわからない。
Uriel glanced up at the drifting clouds above, his expression rather that of calm acceptance than of dread. A few moments later, his gaze lit up with realization.
そうだな。誰だって死にたくなかったんだろうな。
After a lifetime of passing down judgment on a myriad different mortals, Uriel had finally come to realize that simple, enduring truth. The angel closed his eyes. His body began to fade. I was more than ready to kill or be killed in this moment. It goes without saying that I should have anticipated an outcome like this. And yet, why do I feel this crushing sadness? Unable to bring myself to leave the angel, I instead remained by his side, witnessing his final moments.
ねえ天道刹那、一つお願いを聞いてくれたら一つお礼をしてあげる。
なんだ
Uriel pointed at the nearby Picati sword, its blade stuck firm in the concrete floor.
ペッカーティの剣をあげる。君にとっては今後も有用に使えるだろうから。
I decided to accept his offer.
ありがとう。それでお願いというのは
Uriel looked into my eyes, extending a trembling hand towards me.
って
I did as he asked. For one who used to be called the Flame of God, Uriel's hand felt painfully cold now. Uriel flashed a content smile. He wished to feel someone else's warmth, even if it belonged to the very man who fought him to the death. In truth, though, that was all in the past. The Uriel I gazed at now was the same angel he used to be before madness claimed him. On the brink of death, despite it being entirely too late, he finally regained his lost sanity and morality.
そうだ。もう一つだけ教えてあげるよ。
何
この世界は君の想像以上に狂っていて、そして積んでいる。全くもってどうしようもない解決策など存在しない。
ならどうすればいい？
さあね、僕はそんなの知ったことじゃないさ。
Uriel let out a rattled chuckle.
君は今やセラフであり四大天使である僕を上回る存在になった。そんな君が今さら敗れた僕に未来への指針を求めてはいけない。君が決めろ、天道刹那。君が選び決めろ。今の君にそれがどんなに非現実的に思えたとしても、未来の君なら叶えられるかもしれない。
Nero's advice, to be quite honest, felt vague at best, yet I vowed never to forget his words, believing them to be of vital importance.
わかった。本当にありがとう、フリエル。
幸運を。
君も。
After producing one final smile, the angel Uriel vanished for good. The wind picked up, carrying off his ashes. All that remained on the ground were spots of blood, and even those disappeared within moments. I felt the chilling grip of a sensation masquerading as sorrow take hold of my heart, an elusive, overwhelming sensation I can only label as emptiness. As Uriel vanished, so did the gavel of judgment I still held in one hand. I finally understood exactly what my raison d'être had been. My power would encroach reality to trample upon overwhelming odds, whatever they might be, yet that very same power moved not for the sake of the many. I was too trifling in existence to manage that. I would use this power for the sake of those I hold dear, selfishly, arrogantly. However, that was how I could come this far. Through the power of my raison d'être, the power to howl judgment and condemnation in the face of overwhelming adversity. Holy shit. Okay, god damn. That was fucking awesome. Like, good lord, that was awesome. So now we finally know his raison d'être. Kind of scared to say it, but... Oh. That's not spoilery. That's fine. Thank goodness. But, good lord. Actually got quite a... That was freaking awesome. A freaking gavel, though. I think I've ever seen that before. Fucking cool, though. Well, I bet in the next episode we'll finally see, or we might find out what it was that Raziel did. And honestly, the only thing that comes to my mind that what Raziel did that was so bad was that she could possibly just be the cause of all this. Like, the cause for the need for the gates closing, the need for Tokyo Babel. She could be the cause of all this, and that is such a crazy-ass sin that she had to make herself forget about it. That's what I'm thinking. Or it might be something completely different, and I have no idea what the hell it could possibly be. But I'm sure we'll find out soon enough. I'm kind of curious, and I can't wait to find out soon enough. Anyway, that's all I've got for today, so thank you guys so much for watching, and I will be sure to see you guys in the next video.